experience in a... well, I don't want to turn my back on you guys, but there's folks over here too. Maybe I should get as far back as possible. Keep my back to the door. Who came here tonight to hear me talk shit about people? Well, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, with the Jim Cornette experience. The reason why I named it, I'm suddenly getting louder. My God, do I have a brain tumor? Is there writing on the wall? The hell is that? The reason I named it the Jim Cornette experience is because that way I don't have to prepare. Because after all, there's nobody in the world that's better at being Jim Cornette than I am. So, since I rely so heavily on audience interaction and questions from the audience and etc., if the show sucks, it's your fault. You didn't ask the right questions. So now that I've put the burden of pressure on you, I do want to say that nothing's off limits. We're going to hang out here for a couple hours. I wish that we could all somehow get closer. Well, maybe not all of us. There's a couple of people I want to get close to out here. But we want it to be as intimate as possible, and I'm using the microphone just so I can save my voice for later when I'm screaming at David about stuff. But now, what are you doing now? Social media. If they ain't here by now, they ain't going to get here by the time I'm finished. Oh, there is a show tonight, isn't there? Okay. It's all downhill from here when I get finished. But anyway, are you going to be the roving reporter to ask the question with the?
Like you're screwed for the second time. Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. So David will be a roving reporter. He's going to be out and about amongst you. So be careful and watch your purses and wallets. And if you have a question and you raise your hand and we call upon you, and generally for that to happen, if you're a female, try to have the cleavage out. Because he is one of those type of, he's such a pervert. Well, no, I'm just telling you. You are, but at least you quit that job at the porn theater. He was the jizz popper, ladies and gentlemen. Now, normally, if this is an afternoon show, I don't see too many small children in the audience, but in the daytime, I would watch my language, and I wouldn't really want to get too in-depth in certain things, but fuck that, that's what you came to see, right? So that being said, if you've got any little children that you don't want to be warped for life, just tell them the ugly man in the ring with the face on his shirt, he's going to say a bunch of things that you shouldn't hear, so just close your ears. But anyway, David will run around amongst you with the microphone, and that way we can ask questions, we can answer them, and that will lead me into tirades, and then we'll go from there. Then after that, everybody gets a picture. You want one? You can see my banner in the back after we're finished up here with all of this. Everybody gets a picture, everybody gets an autograph. Merchandise will be available. That's the first time merchandise has got a round of applause. You guys are easy. Wow, this is great. So, and the guy jumping the gun back here now before I've even finished the preamble. He's got, no, I saw you back there. Don't put it down now. I saw you. David, to make him feel at home, while we go over, let him be the first person, since he jumped in front of all the women and children. By the way, you've heard about the priest, the rabbi, and the minister. They were on a cruise ship, and the cruise ship hits the iceberg, and it's sinking, right? And the minister says, women and children are first. And the rabbi says, fuck the women and children. And the priest says, do you think we have time? Anyway, sir, where are you from, and what is your question?
We actually met the last time you were here. Robert from Dallas.
Oh, okay. I can see you now. The guy with the big, ugly head in front of you was blocking you.
I brought you a Strike Zero again.
That's my favorite guy right here. Thank you very much. Now, wait, I got to make sure that is it still okay. I just got to check and make, good. The tamper-proof seal has not been opened. I trust this. You never know. Somebody might try to roofie me. And then they could have their way with me. It really would be easy if you try to talk me into it. All right, here we go. Anyway, do you have a question?
I've been pondering this for like the last year and a half. I mean, I've reminiscing experience. I guess my question would be, what is your most memorable and favorite moment in professional wrestling?
Oh, jeez. Say again? Only one. That's, well, it's an essay question, and besides that, I'd have to narrow it down. My God. You know, my favorite Russo moment will be when I outlive him and fly to Colorado and kiss on his grave. Of all the things we've done with the Midnight Express, the Smoky Mountain, etc., you know, actually, and this will be probably a letdown answer, maybe my favorite moment in wrestling was when I was booking and promoting an OVW back in 2001. We did an OVW fan in the audience. There you go. We did one of the shows we did at the Louisville Gardens. It was Christmas Chaos, and the show's so nice we had to promote it twice. We got snowed out the first time, came back later on. We had Stone Cold Steve Austin there, had a lot of great talent there, all the OVW guys. But the best part about it was I sold out the Louisville Gardens. I don't want to say I sold it. The card sold out, but I booked a card that sold out the Louisville Gardens. And 27 years beforehand, my mom had actually bought those $4 ringside tickets and taken me down to see my first ever live wrestling match. And 27 years later, I was able to have her come down. Didn't even cost her $4. And she got to see a show that I promoted there that sold out. And that was a year before she passed away. So I think that probably maybe was my favorite thing today. Okay, David, do your job. As it went down, who said you could have a drink? You don't get, there's no drinking in wrestling. Wait a minute, what did I just say?
All right, one of our fans from overseas just came over to see you. So
What city are you over from?
we're from Belfast, Northern Ireland.
Excellent, the Irish are here. Can we have the people at the bar cut them off early, okay? Just to make sure.
Jim, you've worked for a lot of companies over your time in wrestling. I just want to know, which company has frustrated you the most?
Well, there's this little promotion at Fort Worth called the IHWE. No.
Either TNA or ROH.
It was either TNA or ROH. I'm just trying to find it for different reasons. TNA was frustrating because nobody is ever going to get that close to competing with Vince McMahon again, in my opinion. In this country, at least, it's not going to happen. They had a national cable television time slot. They had full-fledged pay-per-view. They had licensing and merchandising deals. They had overseas television. They had a tremendous talent roster. They just had a clueless twat at the head of the whole thing.
Which one, Dixie or Russo?
No, Dixie's a twat. Russo's a cunt. You know, every decision that she made, and especially once that Jeff was gone and out of the picture, the inmates started running the asylum. She, like, you know, old whore the night before the prom, she fell for every line that was presented to her. Hiring Hogan and Bischoff, wasting all that money. I mean, the creative had always been suspect, but still guys were working to overcome that, but they had a chance and they blew it, and that frustrated me. And it frustrated me when I was working there that, you know, once again, they had all that, and it just...
You had the young talent coming up to you, didn't you? Actually saying what's going on here. I mean, I remember listening to one of your shoot interviews and it says, you know, a lot of the young guys were...
Oh, with the talent? Yeah, well, it was two-pronged, because the young guys would go, you know, what's going on? Why can't we get a chance to, you know, to excel and to further ourselves and blah, blah, blah. And the top guys, in a lot of cases, and I don't group Kurt Angle in, you know, in this equation, but a lot of the top talent, name talent that they signed, was looking at it like a paid vacation from a money mark. And if Jeff was there, he could keep them in line, but when Jeff wasn't there, then it was just, you know, that was it. And to be honest, you know, It frustrated me that I had to go to guys because I was the senior agent in charge of the name talent. And I had to go to guys and they would say, when I would present them with the creative, they'd say, well, what in the fuck are you talking about? And why wouldn't we do this or this and this don't make sense or whatever? And I would have to agree with them. But then I'd also have to figure out a way that we could get to the same place that the office wanted to go to, but still do something that was palatable to the talent. Then I'd have to go to Jeff, and he'd say, okay, yes, blah, blah, blah. And it was harder work than it needed to be. I'd have rather sat down with a blank piece of paper and just started from scratch at noon the day of the show than what they gave me that had to be completely fixed, because dumb fuck don't know what the fuck he's doing and never has. I mean, you know, the Archbishop of Talentberry, Mr. Russo, it was frustrating, but Ring of Honor was frustrating also, not when Kerry Silken owned the company, because then I understood the limitations of one guy financing a wrestling company, and I understood corners need to be cut, things need to be done. But when Sinclair Broadcasting, which I accept the blame for bringing him into the equation, Ring of Honor may not still be around if it hadn't been, but it was hell for the first couple of years because I took a lot of the heat because they didn't do any of the things I suggested that they could do to do it economically and still not run off the existing audience while trying to get a new audience.
You worked really well with the talents you did. You had a good relationship with Adam Pearce, didn't you? And Delirious.
Hold on, I got to get closer because of your accent.
I want to take a seat with us.
Well, if I get down, I may not be able to get back up.
You worked really well with Adam Pearce and with Delirious and the booking and everything of
yes.
running the show. It was just the financial situation and
it was harder than I thought it was going to be because Joe Koff, I thought, because he knew a little bit about wrestling and he had worked with wrestling companies before and he was a wrestling fan, I thought he could be the buffer. I found out, to be quite honest, I don't think Joe Koff has the pull to draw a greasy string out of a cat's ass in Sinclair Broadcasting. Because, from hiring the little hatchet-headed 25-year-old accountant to work in the office and started telling us what was what with the wrestling business, when he'd never even seen a wrestler in person before 3 months, before that. We started getting heat with the internet pay-per-views when it went off the air. And I said the first thing we need to do is get rid of Go Fight Live, which I called them Go Fuck Themselves, because that's basically what they told all the fans. Who ordered an internet pay-per-view from Ring of Honor and got a blank screen?
I would never order an internet pay-per-view.
Oh my God! It's Cornette! When they come to, ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
I'm just sitting here talking to folks.
I had no idea. I was walking by here looking to go to a movie.
Actually, you were looking for the porn theater. It's 3 blocks down. They're showing a double feature, but the first one is Dumbo Does It Donkey Style.
Already saw it. I saw it at your house on Netflix. Don't you remember?
Actually, we shot it in my backyard. It was a location piece.
You were sitting there eating popcorn at the time. Popcorn?
Popcorn.
Never mind. Right over here.
Should have quit while you were ahead, Bill.
Real quick, I'm gonna, if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna get some other things done. How about Bill Apter take my place? Is that okay?
Yes!
So Mr. Bill Apter, His Excellency himself, is gonna take my place with Jim Cornette. Thank you, folks. I'll see you in a little bit.
Thanks for the warning, David. And Bill, and now we got somebody who knows what he's doing with the microphone. I'm going to finish answering this gentleman's question, but basically, there's a lot of things. Sinclair bought the company and then not only didn't follow through with a lot of the proposal I thought would make it work, and we're not talking about talent booking, we're talking about administrative. Things that the existing Ring of Honor fans then started resenting us for, like the evil empire had taken over their wrestling. Sort of like the goddamn Republicans won the election. What the fuck are we going to do now? But from the internet pay-per-views to the website that the fucking office boy's friend from college set up and you couldn't order a DVD for 2 months. And just the whole, the cheapness of everything, I thought they were going to make the investment at the start to do it right, and instead they dribbled and grabbed it along. We're going to debut in Cincinnati, but you can only buy 6 plane tickets, and then the fans started getting pissed about the shitty cards. It was on and on. That was frustrating for a different reason. because I thought they had a chance for success, but they weren't spending any money. Whereas I thought TNA had a chance for success, and they were spending a fucking fortune, but not in a smart way. So it was two completely isolated incidents. Okay, where'd Willie go?
All right here. Do I still owe you money, by the way?
No, you're one of the few that doesn't.
Jim Cornette, by the way, if everybody...
Oh, here we go.
If everybody remembers the legendary feud between Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler, you all remember that? I introduced the two of them, and I got a call from Jerry Lawler, and he says, we got this kid who shoots pictures for us here. His name is Jim Cornette. I said, can you trust him? Can I trust him? He says, well, he's a good photographer.
Hey,
That was it. But Jim is the guy who shot all the photos of the Andy Kaufman versus Jerry Lawler match. That was classic match.
But now, Bill, now that you've taken over for David, you missed the preamble. Basically, as people raise their hand, we're going to call upon them and they get a chance to ask a question that hopefully the entire room will be entertained by.
Okay, I got one right over here.
Have you found him already?
I got it already here. He's going to make me work here. Okay. Hi, how you doing?
Let's just start fucking with Bill and make him just run circles.
Would you stand up, please? And your name?
I'm Sean from Manchester, England.
Oh. Let's have a nice hand before we go. Did you bring me some Roundtree fruit gums?
No.
Just overlook him and ask the question. We'll be here all day.
Mr. Cornette, you're obviously known as a magnificent orator with a rapier-like wit. I would like to know which, in your opinion, is your favourite put-down you've given to someone, and which is your favourite put-down that you've been on the receiving end of.
Oh my God! Once again, I should have come with notes for this show. My favorite put-down, actually, God, just off the top of my head, I used to like it. It was a big thing in the South when people would look at you and they'd go, "You ain't shit! You ain't shit!" And I'd go, "No, but you are." So obviously, I think Bill Watts, and I've used this line a bunch, but Bill Watts hit me one time with one of my favorite put-downs, and you have to have a musical background, but Bill Watts said about me, if he was ever caught in the men's locker room, he'd be whistling "Stranger in Paradise." I don't know, I just liked it. I don't know.
Question. We have
Shitty answer. I'll give you a free hug for giving you a shitty answer.
Back here in the balcony. No, that's the balcony, right? Back here on the floor of the balcony.
Bill, you've been drinking early today, I see.
Sparkling ice, that's it.
Lenny from
Oh, Lenny, how are you, Lenny? Hello. This is Lenny, ladies and gentlemen, from Of Mice and Men.
Question, I wanted to hear a little bit about Smoky Mountain Wrestling. If you can just kind of walk us through, what made you decide to start it back in the day and what your vision was for it, how it eventually started with some relationship with the World Wrestling Federation at that time, and what made you decide to close it eventually.
Oh, so just a simple one-word answer will suffice for that. My God, the multi-part question. Smoky Mountain, obviously, we started it because I thought that at the time, this was the early 90s, all the territories were going away. Memphis was the only one left. And as my last year with WCW, as Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane and I would ride up and down the roads in the car, I'd be in the back seat looking at the acts, thinking, boy, that used to be a great wrestling town. That used to be a great wrestling town. And we noticed when we went to Knoxville that WCW was still drawing. And they had killed off pretty much every town in America at this point, but Knoxville was still drawing. They ended up killing that too with the no-shows and, shitty efforts that the guys put in that were on guaranteed contracts. But I said, Knoxville and that area was always a wrestling hotbed. It was small and medium-sized markets that were affordable with buildings. Sandy Scott had been let go by WCW, was sitting up here in Virginia, and he had relationships with all these arena managers. And, obviously there were a lot of wrestlers looking for a place to go because there were no more territories. Vince was hiring, cartoon guys and, guys jacked up on monkey hormones, and WCW was hiring guys that would work real cheap. So I had, the veterans in the middle, right? And unfortunately, the only thing I didn't take into account, and what really doomed us was that the Republicans, by the way, again, it's those goddamn Republicans every time. During the Reagan administration, they deregulated everything else. By the way, the Republicans, they don't want an EPA because they don't want you to know that you're eating and drinking poison. They're against the Environmental Protection Agency. They're against government oversight of Wall Street because they don't want you to know how bad you're getting fucked in the ass by all the billionaires. They don't want Planned Parenthood because they want plenty more subjects that they can subjugate and they can work as slaves so they don't want anything that's good for anybody. But I digress. The point is, the deregulation of television had led to infomercials like Richard Simmons' Deal-A-Meal and the Pocket Fisherman, all that stuff, where instead of programs that would draw viewers, the television stations could just get checks and run this tape. So all of a sudden, in markets where 2 and 3 years before that, they were running the wrestling programs for free on a barter system for half the advertising time because they got great ratings. Now they were having people giving them $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 per half hour just to run some shitty tape. So the original vision was not only Knoxville and East Tennessee and Eastern Kentucky, but up in Asheville, North Carolina, Charleston, West Virginia, down to Chattanooga, and over to Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina, a really full-fledged territory. But those TV markets were just impossible to crack. And once again, this was over 20 years ago when there were only 4 stations in these markets. Now with all the digital channels and the independent stations that have popped up, you can get on TV, pretty much anytime you want to. The problem is there's so many more stations, the viewership for each has gone down. But that was the original plan. We couldn't get enough TV markets to really, when we're drawing, huge houses in Knoxville in the summertime or for Christmas and Thanksgiving and doing real good in Johnson City and doing good in Eastern Kentucky, if we could have got those other major markets and had more spot shows to run off of, where we didn't have to double up on spot shows in Kentucky and Tennessee, it would have been better. It would have been a full-fledged territory. We couldn't do that, so we got too big to be small. We were still too small to be big. And the decision to shut it down came in '95, truthfully, when I didn't see things getting any better. And in that year is the only year, 1995, the only year in modern history that even Vince McMahon lost money in wrestling. Now he's lost his ass on restaurants and football leagues and bodybuilding federations and, his daughter married a wrestler. What the fuck was he thinking? But he lost $6 million just on wrestling that year. And so that was a pretty bad year for wrestling. When I started Smoky Mountain in '92, I said, well, it can't get any worse. Holy shit. Thank you, Lenny, for letting me relive some wonderful memories.
Jim, another question here, but before we talk about that, Smoky Mountain became one of the most fan-friendly, one of the first fan-friendly promotions. One of the best times I ever had in my career and personal life was when you ran the Smoky Mountain barbecues. Those were so much fun.
Well, we did. Who here remembers Fan Week in Smoky Mountain? Maybe anybody go? Well, apparently not. Okay, great. We did a Fan Week thing because we were very popular with fans that read the newsletters and from outside our territory. So once a year during the summertime, we would have a week's worth of activities and we would sell packages where the fans from outside the territory could come in and ride around on a bus with all the guys, do the whole loop, have barbecues and cookouts and different things. And it was fun, and we had to tell them, look, you guys are smart, but still in our territory, most of our fans are not exactly smart to the business, so don't spoil it for everybody. And they did. They kayfabed for us, and it was wonderful.
Okay, your name?
My name's Jim. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Cleveland, the mistake on the lake. No, I did a show at Cleveland Municipal Stadium one time, and they were setting up the ring after the ball game, right? And they told me, Cornette, while we're setting up the ring, go out and get on the microphone and kill some times. What do you want me to say? Anything, just stir them up. I opened with the last people the Indians beat was Custer. I went about 5 minutes and they said, fuck, get him out of there. He said, he's going to cause a fucking riot, right?
You remember the old line, Saturday night in Cleveland? Look, Harvey, a bus.
Good. I got to see you at SummerSlam '96 when you managed Vader against Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
I'd love to hear some thoughts or things that were going on at that time. But I guess my big question would be: last time you were on Wrestling Observer Radio, you were talking about the state of modern wrestling announcing, and I just thought of how many great commentary teams kind of get left out of that. Like Don Koss and Dutch Savage for Portland. Sadly, Dave Brown and Lance Russell for Memphis. Who, in your opinion, is the best commentary team that gets overlooked the most, the one deserving the most recognition?
Oh, God. Well, and remind me, I'll come back to Cleveland. Oh, hopefully not for long, though. Actually, I don't know that Lance and Dave really have been overlooked because I guess it depends on your geography, your part of the country, because I just went last October down to Jackson, Tennessee to a wrestling show that Burt Prentice and his USA Wrestling promoted, and the main event was Jerry Lawler versus Terry Funk. And I had to go to see that. Because I was there when they had their program 30 years ago. I was at almost every match, right? So we went down there, and Lance and Dave were the special guests. And I guess 1,400 people were at the show, and literally every single one of them was lined up to see Lance and Dave. They were cultural icons. I mean, household names to 4 or 5 generations, I guess, of Lance had a great line. He said, when he started in television, it was radio. And he just a couple of weeks ago, Lance turned 90. And he's still going, he's still making convention appearances, and
we will actually be in the College Flower Alley convention for the first time in history.
Well, he's only going to do it every 90 years because he doesn't want to wear out his butt. But so Lance and Dave, where they're from, they're appreciated. But then a lot of times you find that it depends on where you grew up as to who the favorite announcing team is. And you can't beat nostalgia in your childhood. So whether it was, like you mentioned, Koss and Savage in Portland, or Lance and Dave in Memphis, or Gordon Soley and anybody on Atlanta or Florida TV, I think, truthfully, my Mount Rushmore of announcers has to be Jim Ross, Gordon Soley, Lance Russell, and Bob Caudle.
Absolutely.
And I think Lance, obviously, he had the benefit of having Dave as a partner literally for he picked Dave up, not picked him up, literally, you know what I'm saying? Dave was a young radio guy and got a job at Channel 13, and he was doing like the Bowling for Dollars or whatever. And Lance came to him and said, hey, you ever done wrestling? You ever wanted to do wrestling? That was in the mid-'60s, and they were together for almost 30 years. So and Dave Brown just retired last year. He was the most popular news personality in the city of Memphis for like 30 years in a row. He still did the weather. Now that he's retired, they can't have weather anymore in Memphis. So you don't get that level of. And I was one more thing on Lance Russell, and I would get to the next question, but that signature phrase where he would say, "Yellow again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting week." When you think that he did that, when he hosted that, the most popular, most widely watched local television show of any kind in the United States of America, Memphis Wrestling, it beat news anywhere, it beat any type of local programming. He hosted that show for 30 years, and the amount of people that watch that show on a weekly basis, somebody somewhere has heard that man say, "Yellow again, everybody," 300 million times. And that's freaky. That deserves it to be in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, in my opinion. All right, Billy.
Can you do an imitation of him doing that?
Partner, come on, Jerry. Lawler with a chain. Get out of here. Eddie, would you stop that nonsense? All right.
That's good. I have the one word imitation of Gordon Soley, and that word would be indeed.
Indeed.
That was it. All right, your name, sir.
My name is Mike, and I'm from Grand Prairie.
Woo-hoo! Grand Prairie, everybody. You're all from out of town. You got no fucking clue where Grand Prairie is, right?
Grand Prairie.
We're 20 miles from Grand Prairie.
The one thing I miss about wrestling today is the lack of managers. And I always love the managers getting involved in the matches.
and everything, and you're one of the best managers that ever graced a wrestling promotion. And I just want to say, out of the Midnight Express, besides the Midnight Express, a great tag team that you manage, what is the one single most important guy that you manage by himself?
Most important could be taken a number of ways. I managed, Yokozuna was the WWF champion. You can't get much more important than that as far as...
What was your favorite guy to work with?
I gotta be honest with you, I love Dick Murdoch. I just love managing Dick Murdoch. He was the funniest son of a bitch, and he was one of a kind, and on his off days, he was better than most people, and when he was motivated, he was better than everybody. But Murdoch was a ton of fun. I loved getting a chance to work early with Hercules Hernandez at Mid-South. He was a great guy. I thought he should have had a much longer career and life, obviously. Dr. Death Steve Williams, had him for a little while at WCW, there's so many guys that I've been so identified with either the Midnight Express or the Heavenly Bodies, but so many other guys as singles kind of came and went that they don't get the attention, as being a person managed by me as maybe they should or whatever. Whatever I'm trying to say. Lance, would you get him out of here? No. But yeah, I think Yokozuna was probably the highest profile single. I managed, Bulldog and Owen, even though they were a team for a long time. Obviously, both guys had great singles careers. I was there for a smidgen of that. But so I think Yokozuna may be the most high profile. And then, of course, Vader, the big teddy bear that he is. It just depends on what your definition of most important is. And Murdoch was the most fun.
One more question. What is your favorite thing from Whataburger? Because I saw your tweet about Whataburger.
Hey, you know what? Here's the rib also. I tweeted yesterday when I got in town. I said, okay, the Whataburger feeding frenzy is about to begin. They answered me back like immediately. I'm like, holy shit, the guy that does the fucking Whataburger that knows who I am. So I answered me back and then I look, Whataburger has followed you. I don't, Jesus Christ. Now Whataburger's following me, right? And then I looked at their gimmick. They have 500,000 followers, but they're following 167,000 people. It's like it's got to be automatic. Well, they didn't know who I was from Adam's House Cat. He likes Whataburger. We're gonna write him back or whatever. So, but the triple Whataburger, extra cheese, gotta add the bacon. There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Comes complete with a ladder so you can climb it. Well, Bill, come on now. These folks in the front here, we haven't had any.
Well, that's fine. I promised this gentleman.
Okay, well, if you promised, I'd hate for Bill Apter to go back on his word.
Never break my word, even if you have to lie.
You're like Paul Heyman. I wouldn't believe you if your tongue was notarized.
Oh, actually, it is. Here.
Oh, I saw that. I thought that was an ill-advised tattoo from your biker days.
Oh, never mind. Yes, sir. Your name.
Devin from here in Fort Worth.
And your question for Jim Cornette.
It's in two parts. What's the favorite program that you've ever put together in wrestling? What program have you ever put back and said, what the hell was I thinking?
That's a great question. Thank you.
Favorite program that I put together, which meant that I was in charge of the matchmaking, which eliminates the rock and roll midnight years and things like that, so we can get by with that on a technicality. To be honest with you, I think it was my favorite thing I ever put together that I was involved in was the whole feud with Bullet Bob Armstrong and Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Because it was a year and a half just to get him in the ring, and then it lasted really for the length of the company. I knew that I wanted to use Bob Armstrong. If I'm running wrestling in Knoxville, I'm insane if I don't use Bob Armstrong. But by the same token, at this point in the early 90s, he was in his early 50s, and I wanted to build around younger guys as well as veterans like the rock and roll, but the Heavenly Bodies, Tom Pritchard was still in his early 30s, so it was like they were veterans, but still young, but that's why I made Bullet Bob the commissioner. But I knew the money would come when we got him back in the ring. And naturally, the commissioner, who does a great promo, and the evil heel manager, who's representing the other side of things, does pretty good promo. And we would, you know, get on each other's nerves, but we held it back and held it back and held it back, and finally pulled the trigger on it when we had the Rage in a Cage match in Knoxville and hospitalized him. Which was, by the way, I cracked his sternum with the tennis racket because I hit him in the stomach like about 27 times. But it ended up that obviously it was the right thing to do to wait that long and pull the trigger on it. And we had brought to Knoxville at the Coliseum, we brought in the Big Boss Man, we brought in the Steiner Brothers, we brought in numerous amounts of named wrestlers. And the gate record for Smoky Mountain to that time that we set was to see the 50-something-year-old commissioner and the fat manager in a lumberjack match. And we drew about 3,000 people that night. And that, you know, then we continued on it from there. But that was my favorite thing, me and Bob Armstrong, I think, that I put together. Except in OVW, there was the program between the Damager and Doug Basham. When that lying sack of shit, John Laurinaitis, was fucking us around, you know, because he got the job in the WWF because he looks good in a suit, and he smiled a lot and had a dimple and said yes to everything Stephanie McMahon uttered. John, are there nuclear fire showers going on tonight? Yes, Stephanie, yes there are. But when somehow after I pushed them as a team for 2 years and they wouldn't take them, and they wouldn't take them, and they wouldn't take them, I said, the best tag team in wrestling, won't take them. So finally I break them up and feud them with each other for my summer programs in OVW. That's when they made them a tag team on national TV. So Danny Davis started calling me the Weasel because no matter what fucking obstacles they would put in my path, I would be able to figure out a way out of it that I could explain to my OVW fans why it was logically this was happening. So I put together a program that basically said that because Doug Basham's valet Nikita was fucking John Laurinaitis, he was trying to run the damage off by making the Damager beat Doug Basham's partner on national TV and call him by his brother, and the only way that the Damager could get out from under the evil influence of Doug Basham and this no-good prick John Laurinaitis was to beat Basham and put him out of wrestling in OVW. I swear to God, people actually, I think they were working with me a little bit. I think they were like, you know, this WWF shit, they have fucked Cornette's booking completely up, so we're going to work with him on this one. But it was the best drawing summer we ever had. With these two guys fighting each other on our shows, they were partners on national TV. But in all honesty, we would do surveys with OVW of our fans of who's most popular and who's most unpopular and this and that and the other thing. Whoever won the most popular survey, they'd turn him heel a week later. They'd say, turn him heel. We want to see how he is as a heel. I said, you got a creative team. Have them be creative enough to imagine, right? So it was a long struggle, but those are two of my favorites. Anyway, I digress. My God, there's Bobby Fulton. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Fulton was fantastic right there.
Bobby Fulton is victim of so many shots by that tennis racket of Jim Cornette.
You potated me in the sportatorium more times than an Idaho farmer.
I want to make sure your tennis elbow's better now tonight.
It is
because folks, I got one more match in me, and I want it to be against Jim Cornette. Sunshine may be showing up with Kabuki and that green jacket. I'll fight you over it right here tonight.
Hey, actually, the last match I had, and I hope it is indeed the last match I had with Bobby Fulton, was about 8 or 9 years ago at a show you ran up in Ohio, and he calls me, he says, Jimmy, I'm running a show in my hometown, will you work with me? I said, of course I will, Bobby. I said, wait a minute, you don't mean appear on a show, or do you mean actually wrestle you? And he's like, no, I want you to wrestle, I want to wrestle Bobby Eaton, and then if I win, I get 5 minutes for you. I said, I can't go 5 minutes, Bobby. He said, well, we'll just do something easy. So I agreed to it, and he gets me in the ring, and as always, he won't let me out. And he keeps telling me to do shit. And finally, I look at him, I say, Bobby, in 20 seconds, either you're going to beat me, or I'm going to vomit on you, because I'm blown up. I love you.
You give me a what? A superplex?
Oh, jeez. One time, another one of his spot shows, right? It's me and Stan Lane against him and his brother Jackie. And he's got me in the ring. And he says, Jimmy, I'm going to the top rope. Stop me and superplex me. What? He says, Tommy, I said, Bobby, no, I'll kill us all. He said, no. I said, I'm going up there, and if you don't superplex me, I'm going to stay up there all night, right? He goes up the top rope, I go over to the corner, boom, hit him with a gut shot. I got up on the bottom rope. I said, this is as far as we're going. The world's only superplex from the bottom rope.
Bobby Fulton, everybody.